So I don't even care anymore. I don't talk about basketball. He's taking pictures. He's taking pictures of cards. No, the glare. Nobody's over there. Turn that side off.
I have to go back and listen to our intros. Welcome to the GameDay Huddle. I'm Steve. Jay Up is here. And the Warden, Warehouse Boys, Dave in the building.
What's up, everybody?
Jimmy is off for another week. We should be back for this next week. If not, the Warden says that he'll keep the seat warm as long as Jimmy needs it.
He missed the entire World Series.
He did. He missed the entire World Series. I mean, there's been a lot, but guys, getting started right away today. We have breaking news. Ian Rappaport. Other people are putting this out, but Ian Rappaport tweeted out that in the Sunday loss by the Bills, Josh Allen injured his UCL, which is in your elbow, and that they are taking that a little bit further. I've also seen some other tweets in regards to this, that now they've pinpointed that it is a UCL. They don't know if it's a tear, if it's a partial tear, if what it is. What I can tell you is this. Elbow issue, quarterback, usually just doesn't equal good news. There's a chance that Allen may be down for a couple of weeks. That'll affect a lot of levels of everything. And I don't know, but if you guys missed it, here was the play in which that happened on. And so you see, he just reaches back and it pulled his arm all the way back while he was in a forward motion. A lot of times when we see that, it's a glancing thing, so the quarterback's arm kind of comes up and then it deflects off into the side. But in this case, it was pulled directly back. I can tell you this: if it's a partially torn UCL, Josh Allen will probably be able to play. But I would expect that he'd lose a little bit of zip. That's usually what happens. It's usually on the push, right at the very end when you let go of the ball. Still means he's probably got a better arm than about half the quarterbacks in the league.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he loses a little bit of a zip, like, what kind of territory does that put him in now? Like, if he loses a little bit of zip, is he Tom Brady? Like,
I think it affects him. I think it affects him
like physically throwing, not like
I think it affects him when he's on the move, right?
Yeah.
So when he's on the move, I think that's where the issue is, and the reason that's the case is because when you're on the move, you're making the throw kind of off balance, and it's more arm, right? Whereas there are things that you can do, like I've talked about this. I've mentioned Davis Mills' footwork. Like, his footwork's so good. Davis Mills throws with his lower half. He doesn't have to throw with his arm. Like, Davis Mills completes half his passes just by having good mechanics. Right? So, Allen has very good mechanics now. He didn't when he first came to the league. He does now. His bottom half, his mechanics are really good. But that's definitely going to affect, overall it's going to affect Josh Allen. It's going to affect the Bills.
Yeah.
And to what level, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it says we're going to find out more information on Tuesday, is what I'm reading. We'll find out more information on Tuesday and all the details, so they're basically telling everybody not to panic. They're going to wait and find out.
Well, you shouldn't be throwing at all pretty much this whole week.
They say he's going to be limited, which to me, limited means he probably won't be throwing at all this week.
Yeah.
They'll probably just be, unless they find out something, but he probably won't be throwing at all, because I don't think he really needs to in practice to go back and...
Actually, I don't even know if he plays this week, I'll be honest with you.
I think it kind of depends. I'm going to look it up and see who they're playing.
I'll say
I think that the situation is...
They play at home versus the Vikings.
Yeah. And
that's a big game.
It's a big game, but it's not
Vikings.
in division.
It's not in division,
but
it doesn't really matter. They're
division,
0-2 in the division anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Right, so they're probably... you're probably less likely to play that game than you would be if it was a division game.
They're 0-2 in the division?
Yeah, they just lost to the Jets.
I know they lost to the Jets, but I remember
the
the first game. It was Miami.
So they have the Vikings next, but after that they play the Browns, which should be an easy win, and then they play the Lions.
Yeah, but the Browns get Deshaun Watson back that week,
right? Yeah, I would say Deshaun Watson comes back.
Week 12 or 13?
Deshaun Watson comes back in time to play the Texans.
He plays the Texans.
Weirdly enough.
I know.
I don't know how that worked out.
It was 12 weeks, right?
Yeah, that's the Texans.
Whatever it is, the Browns.
So they had their bye week already?
Deshaun Watson's first game is against his old team. I don't know how
they did have their
That's just fate of
crazy.
sports.
That's crazy, yeah.
Sports fate. That's all it is.
100%. And the fact that
definitely not on purpose.
Monday night game to start with.
It's definitely not on purpose.
Definitely not on purpose.
So if he was, so if they're playing the Texans week 14, he would.
We got to remember
13
the
weeks.
very first game of the season that we saw was Broncos Seahawks. Remember this?
Yeah.
So this stuff does happen.
That I get when a guy's traded, but you don't know a guy's getting suspended. And they're like, well, you know what? We're going to spend him right up to play the
Correct.
Texans.
Let's go.
That one's
do
interesting.
this.
Yeah.
I like the conspiracy
Money.
theory like that.
That's funny.
You
Very
don't think
good.
I was on?
I don't. I don't put anything
Stop
past
it.
Goodell.
Okay.
So I don't put anything past Goodell.
Right.
Trust me. You know, I don't like him.
Right.
So I don't
Well,
put anything past that clown.
We will see. We will see what happens. We will see. What occurs with the Josh Allen situation, but it is definitely news to pay attention to.
I'm hopeful.
A couple of things that it does. One, it puts a little bit of disruption into the hobby because people kind of. What happens when a guy gets injured, even if it's not really a serious injury? There's a mass sell off immediately of mid-range cards. What happens is guys sell them off for 5% less than what the market was currently going for. I don't want to say it's a time to buy though, just because what happens is that if this is a sustained injury, then you see quite a big fall off, and people say, "Oh, I just lost money buying it, investing into this." My suggestion is, if you have Josh Allen stuff, just hold it, just sit on it, and even if he is injured and it's kind of a tougher injury and he's out for the year or anything like that, I would still just hold it. I think at this point, Josh Allen is going to be playoffs or bust if you're going to sell, or otherwise you're waiting until next year.
If you're planning on selling this year, I'd wait for the playoffs.
I don't even want to speak
because everything
into
goes up.
existence. That would be devastating to a lot of my fantasy teams if that happens.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speak that.
And that's the other thing is on the fantasy side.
It's like,
And absolutely, because there's guys that are boat racing their fantasy leagues because of Josh Allen in the lineup, and if Josh Allen comes out of the lineup, their options to go pick up now are not good, and I'm sure we can talk about that a little bit during.
I have one guy for you. We'll talk about in the fantasy segment.
Yeah, so we'll talk in the fantasy segment about that.
I need help.
So after breaking news, it's time for over under. This is where we talk NFL weekend, give our overreactions, underwhelmed. And you know what we would have started this with is now our first reaction. And I don't know if it's an overreaction. I actually was quite surprised. Frank Reich was dismissed, and the comment that you made was probably before he left the field.
Yeah.
What shocked me about that is that I didn't think that Frank Reich got really a fair shake the last couple of years.
No, it's a complete overreaction by the Indianapolis Colts.
Always is.
Like I don't understand I don't know what he specifically did. I don't think he was the one that went out and said we gotta go get Carson Wentz last year, and I don't think he was the one that's like, you know what, we need 38-year-old Matt Ryan. We have to have him on this team. So you're putting up a C average product, and you're expecting this guy to work wonders. It's like what the hell is he supposed to do? Not only that, but you have one of the best backs, like top 3 at least in the NFL, who's missing the last 3 or 4 weeks, and they keep losing. So it's like, what do you want this guy to do? Like, what is he supposed to do? He's not a miracle worker.
I think they thought their division was winnable. That's what I think. I think that they think their division could be won, not realizing that the Titans, even on the worst day, are a significantly better football team. Right? They are. We thought they'd be good. We even thought they had a chance to win their division to start the year. Although none of us in this room, Jimmy, myself, or you, had initially thought that they would do anything with Matt Ryan. We actually thought that was kind of a suspect move.
It's like a lateral move. It wasn't like
it wasn't. I don't even think it was lateral.
Right.
I actually think it was a step back, and the reason I think it was a step back is because you're trying to take a quarterback that was drenched into a system that when they changed coordinators with the Falcons, they never changed their offense.
No.
They came in and the coordinator changed what they did to accommodate Matt Ryan. And now you're removing him there. I just didn't think it would be a good thing. And I was kind of surprised, though, to see that Frank Reich would be a mid-season guy to go. Now,
Poor Frank Reich got fired before Nathaniel Hackett.
He did. And, man, I'll tell you what.
That's embarrassing.
If you need your career health, just have me mention that you shouldn't do something in your career, and I'm sure you'll be just fine. Because as much of a hater as I've been about Nathaniel Hackett, that guy's still kicking and moving. And you're having this. You're having people are calling for McDaniels already.
McDaniels should have never been higher. Okay, we're in Las Vegas, right? We're here in Las Vegas. We all know. We've said it. The guy was a really good coordinator, offensive coordinator under Belichick, right? And he was under that tree. and he branched out. He got a head coaching job in Denver, right? And what did he do? He completely shit the bed. Like, he was terrible. Like, it was bad, right? Really bad. And he had a good team there to work with.
Well, he had Jesus on his side.
Right.
Which is why he made the playoffs.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that 80-yard pass to Demaryius Thomas is what saved him in the playoffs. But at least he got them to that point to where he only needed to win that game to get the playoffs, right? So he was a terrible coach from top to bottom. He gets fired right away. And then he goes back to being offensive coordinator. Why would somebody in the same division give him another chance? You're like, you know what? We really liked your work a couple years ago. We thought you did a bang-up job, so we're gonna hand the keys to the car over to you. Why would they do that? Why would they do that and bring him in as a head coach?
Seems like the Patriots. They got that tree behind Belichick. They think it's gonna work, and it hasn't been that good.
He's not a good head coach.
The Andy Reid tree becomes good coaches.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The Belichick tree. It's kind of still out. There's a couple of guys.
They go to college and terrible.
A couple of guys been okay, right? But not everybody's. I mean, you had a bust in Miami. You had a bust with the Bills. You had
bust with Notre Dame.
You were almost worried about the situation with the Titans. He's kept the ship afloat. He's the only one that's really kind of stepped up. So yeah, it's one of those things.
Vrabel was under.
And
Vrabel
yeah,
was
Vrabel.
under. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
that's
real quick, let's
mention
they moved quickly. The Colts moved quickly. I like this move. As much as I dislike the Frank Reich thing, the fact that they signed Jeff Saturday to be their interim was a great political move for the Colts. And this is why I like the move. Not because I think Jeff Saturday is going to come in and change the culture, change the world. They're going to probably have to hire somebody. But if he does a good job, it won't be a Bisaccia situation where he'd be in half the year and then they'll get rid of him no matter success or not, right? They would keep him because he's kind of a folklore legend to Indianapolis.
Right.
Jeff Saturday is a big deal to Colts fans, and if you're going to fire your coach mid-season and you want to catch the fan base before they just duck and run, you bring in Jeff Saturday or Peyton Manning.
That's what if that's what they really wanted to do.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think
they can't just have Peyton Manning be a head coach right away?
What did Jeff Saturday do?
But Jeff Saturday's an intern. But maybe they asked Peyton Manning, he turned it down.
That's what I was going to say.
Maybe they asked Peyton Manning.
There's no way.
That's a good point. So hold on. So that's actually good that you're saying. But he has to be like an offensive coordinator first, then work into a head coaching job.
What has Jeff Saturday done?
No, I'm saying for interim now. Yeah, that's different.
Line.
But maybe they do want Peyton Manning, but they want Peyton Manning to come on as I don't even know if Peyton Manning would just start out of an offensive coordinator, right?
I don't know if Peyton Manning wants to do it, number one. I'm not saying he got offered the job and got turned down, but I started laughing when I saw this. I thought it was a joke because it reminded me of Mike Mayock, a guy that was guy that was on the NFL Network, criticizing picks and this and that, and then all of a sudden he's just a general manager, and I was like, what?
That's true.
How'd you?
And he was terrible.
And all his draft picks were terrible, and I'm like,
CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, whoops.
I was like, what is going on? And then that's what it reminds me of. And so then I looked up a little bit to see, and apparently the only coaching he's got is it was a high school, and it was a random high school in his hometown or whatever, and they didn't make the playoffs. So now he's an NFL coach.
My thought was,
I was like, what the?
If I'm Peyton Manning, there's no way I'm coming in mid-season. There's no way. Because if I'm Peyton Manning, I'm coming in with a brand new fresh start to a season, with the whole offseason to work. I am figuring out what my quarterback is. I am figuring out all of that stuff, and I'm negotiating to have some say in personnel. Because I've shown you that I know how to utilize personnel no matter who it is because of what I did on the field.
Maybe Jeff Saturday has some kind of connections with Andrew Luck.
Well,
and so they brought him in to see if he could talk Andrew Luck into coming back because Sam Ellinger is not the answer.
Luck now 4 years out? I mean, literally he's
third year thing?
You're literally at a point where you're not going to see Andrew Luck come back.
I'd rather have Andrew Luck right now in his current state than Sam Ellinger.
Yeah, Sam Ellinger.
It's not good.
He was a leading rusher on the team, though.
I don't
know how many quarterbacks this week.
I know, I saw
it's
it.
ridiculous.
21 yards.
It's ridiculous.
My thought is Jeff Saturday comes in. He's an interim coach. If Peyton Manning is offered the job, Peyton Manning would have Jeff Saturday as probably his offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. So
at least the offensive line.
Jeff Saturday would stay on.
Yeah.
And I think that might be part of the discussion. Maybe that is part of the discussion. Who knows? What we do know is that the Rooney Rule is out there, so no matter what, they're going to have to interview.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to have to do that. So there's going to be a process. There's going to be a whole shake-up of, they talked to Manning, but then they didn't hire him. You're going to hear these news reports. You're going to have all this stuff. And in reality, it's due course. Give it some time and see what happens. I don't know. I lean on the fence if I was betting today that Peyton Manning would at least come out that he's offered the head coach position. Whether he takes it or not, that's a
we might talk about it tonight.
That's tonight. That's what I'm saying. Are they doing the Manning brothers? Because they don't do it every single week. Are they doing the Manning brothers tonight?
I think so, but I'm not sure. But
they don't do it every week?
They don't do it every week. There's sometimes they take weeks off. So if they do it tonight, you bet your bottom dollar they're going to be talking about it, dude. Like there's going to be a segment where someone
bring it up.
Eli will
that's
throw
what I was thinking about
bus.
tonight. Bring it, they don't hold back a little bit.
No, Eli will throw him under the bus if that's the case. So someone will bring it up.
Timeout. He goes. I think he wants him to call a timeout.
or do they have? Because you know how they have guests every quarter. They could bring Jeff Saturday on as a guest.
There you go.
In one of the quarters because they don't announce who's going to be.
No, they do it before the game. Like
before the game,
they should be up. They should usually do it like an hour and a half before the game.
There we go.
I'll tell you, we'll see. But I do like the move of Jeff Saturday as, the Colts ownership of playing to know whose body you're in, know what room you're in, and that's playing directly to your customer base.
Yeah.
So at least you're not jettisoning everybody. First home game back, everybody's coming to see Jeff Saturday coach.
The best part about it is their next game is not a home game. Their next game is right here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it is.
So
winnable.
We'll get to see that game.
Maybe they did want to fire him before the Raiders game because if he did win, they're like, shit, we can't fire you after a win. So maybe they did it now.
Can't fire Frank Reich after a win. So
they're like, hey, we got to do it now. We lost.
We're heading to Las Vegas, guys.
That's why as soon as it was over, they were like, he's gone.
So the week was really crazy, right? The week was so close. There was all kinds of craziness and everything.
Yeah.
But we got to get. I think the sport needed this, right? Which was we needed magic one more time, no matter what it was, and that was this.
Right away. Here's the snap to Brady. Fakes to Fournette. He throws. It's caught. It's in for the touchdown. Incredible. Tampa Bay takes it 60 yards.
So not the toughest throw in the world, but what you have to realize was they had less than a minute for the drive. They started on their 20, and they had to move the ball 80 yards down the field to win that game. Brady comes out, throws, 100,000 yards, being the first ever.
Well, he threw it, and then it was a penalty. And I was fitting. They want to just keep doing it, the NFL. Yeah. Tell me that wasn't.
Of course.
Yeah. Flag. Let's do it again. We need again. This game's terrible. We need to do it again.
That game was so tough to watch.
I
kept flipping back and forth because it was so tough to watch. And there was only 2 1:00 games.
Yeah, again, thank you for bringing that up because that's what pisses me off about the NFL and Goodell.
Yeah.
You know damn well you don't need 2, and if one of them's bad, this is what you're left with.
But that's the thing is, I think they NFL wanted. No one cares about the Cardinals and Seahawks. Like no one cares. I know Geno Smith's a great
at the beginning of the year maybe, but now it's a little different,
right? But they wanted all eyes. Like you have a 5:00 game, right, every Sunday night, and all eyes are watching that. You have a Monday night game, all eyes are on that. They put Tampa Bay versus the Rams, knowing that the Rams are Super Bowl champions. Tampa Bay got ousted last year, and you have Tom Brady. They didn't know that both these teams were going to be struggling this bad, but they knew they wanted all eyes on that, because they know that if you just did those 2 games, no one's watching the Cardinals Seahawks. Everyone's watching this. It just ended up being a really terrible game,
right?
Hard to watch. It was boring, and you know what? The Rams defense. The Rams defense sucked on that last drive, and I'm not afraid to say it because they should have known what play was coming at that very end there. They were setting up for the run, and Tampa Bay, if I remember, had no timeouts left. They're not going to run the ball in that situation.
Right.
They were only running for 67 yards a game, which is like damn near the bottom. If it's not the 32nd in the NFL, it's like 30th. So you're only running for 60 yards a game. You're not running the ball there. You have to know that some kind of pass is coming, and they played it terribly. It was just from top to bottom, worst game that I've had to watch.
Well, when you're looking at the card as it's all about gambling. Sorry to say, people watch NFL because games.
It really is.
Tom Brady.
Now, when I'm looking at 2 1:00 games, it's just kind of like you're like, this sucks. It's like I don't care who the hell's playing. I want to see more games.
Well, that's why people love betting college because college is nonstop games all throughout the day.
All
right?
until 7 p.m. start time.
You know, really
It's a long
quick,
day.
Jimmy commented in. He says, "I want to hire coaches that can win with guys like Carson Wentz, not coaches that win with guys like Mahomes."
Right.
And I agree with you.
That's a good point.
I absolutely agree with that, and that is very factual. And Frank Reich was winning games with Jacoby Brissett. He was winning games with Wentz. He was winning games with the next guy up off the grocery bagging line. Like, Frank Reich's a good coach. He's going to have a head coach job this next year. And in fact, if I'm one of those teams that's kind of been like licking their chops, I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I was Broncos and that came out, I'd have been like, Nathaniel, you're gone. I'd have fired him, and I called Frank Reich and been like, the job's yours.
Maybe he's
Right?
coming.
They gotta wait
maybe
till the
he's
end of
coming
the
for an
season,
interview.
though, right?
Maybe he'll be in Vegas for an interview
They
this weekend.
He's like, can I travel with you anyways?
Daniel's gone.
He's like, can I still travel with the team?
He'll
I got
buy
an
his own
interview.
ticket.
I'll just travel there.
That'd been the first phone call I made.
We'll come
It was
over to
Vegas. I would
Denver.
love to come there.
Yeah.
I'll take you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you this, that this game with Brady, I think that we needed to see Brady have one more magical moment. This is what he's known for. He gets the ball with a minute or less, he drives down the field, and he wins the game. Right? We know that about Brady. So to have this season, in a season where there's a good chance they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if
I
they don't
hope
make
they
the
don't.
playoffs,
The NFC is
they don't
tough.
make the playoffs, I think we all kind of know that the writing's on the wall, that, he'll go ahead and hang it up with the year that he's had. Probably not the best of things. And,
Should have hung it up last year when he originally did.
Right.
Because even though he didn't win, he was still on top.
Yeah, he left on top. And, at least you have this moment. I think we needed it. I can tell you from the hobby standpoint, we needed it.
Yeah.
From a fan standpoint, I think just to be able to say, okay, Tom's not washed up. He's just in a bad situation. And I'd rather people
It's a
felt
better
that way.
situation than almost half the league.
I know, but I would rather people thought that on his way out.
Well, he always gets the
than-
benefit of the doubt, doesn't
Right.
matter.
But you could say that, but
Right.
he doesn't.
Doesn't
He's
matter.
got a lot of weapons. But man, how many? Like, have you seen how many drops?
Oh, yeah.
Evans
No, I
and
get that.
And then
He
they
doesn't have
can't-
Gronk.
They can't run the
he
ball.
needs Gronk.
Yeah, they
It's
can't.
sad to say that, but that's his.
They have
his
no
entire
offensive
career.
line. They can't run the ball, and they've
Well,
got
right.
too many drops from his
Well, and
receivers. Can't do it all himself.
You speak of that, and you speak of he needs Gronk, and then we'll talk about this guy, Patrick Mahomes last night. Dude went off. 68, put the ball up 68 times. They literally did not run the ball. All they did was throw. He was constantly throwing on the run. He had defenders in the backfield every single possession, and he was on the move and making crazy throws. And Chris Collinsworth kept referencing the fact that Juju Smith-Schuster must have went and sat and talked with Kelsey and worked with Kelsey, because he was running routes like Kelsey runs
The
routes.
little short routes, yeah.
The little short routes. That's coaching,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we know that that's being coached well. But, he definitely was, like, he definitely knew that he was up against it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't getting quite the performance he needed out of some of the guys. He wasn't getting the extra yards. I would say that was the thing that I noticed the most about the Titans, is that the Titans might have led that little catch up. They weren't getting 7 more yards.
No.
They were getting that catch, and that's it.
The Titans defense played good. It basically came down to they just didn't get the yards they needed. Like when you have a game plan going in, Malik Willis is a starter. The whole world knows you want to get the ball to Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Like the wide receivers on the team didn't have a target in the third quarter, up into the third quarter. So the whole world knows you want to run Derrick Henry. So what do you have to do? The Kansas City Chiefs made adjustments because Tennessee had a lead and they were playing really good. Kansas City made the adjustments at halftime, which is what a good coach does, Andy Reid, and they stalled that game plan.
They always play
Malik
that.
Willis throw it.
Titans and Chiefs always play each other.
Yeah, they
Tough.
did
It
last year.
seems
Last year
like-
they
yeah.
held them to 3
It's been
points.
like the last, I think, couple of years, if I'm not mistaken.
Last year they held them to 3 points. And kudos to Kadarius Toney and the Kansas City Chiefs medical staff, because they were able to not only get Toney in time from the trade, but they were able to magically heal his hamstring that's been bothering him for the last 4 weeks in New York. So kudos to that medical staff.
And he
in
was
Kansas
able to
City.
go out.
Maybe they can help Michael Thomas.
And he got the first pass of the game thrown to him.
Yeah.
I'm just-
that was just to get him comfortable.
Welcome
Yeah.
to the welcome.
He only
to
had
the
two catches, 2
Yeah.
targets.
Yeah,
It's
he
not
only played
like-
9% of the snaps I
Yeah.
saw, but just the fact that the medical staff was able to come in on short notice and get him all fixed up is kudos to them.
I will say this. I think after seeing, Josh Allen, he looked okay.
Mm.
He didn't look great. It looked okay before he got hurt, right? He's had a couple of those games this year.
His 2 interceptions were awful.
We've talked about a few guys, and like one of the guys that we talked about is Jalen Hurts, right? And Hurts has played really well this year, but up until the last couple of weeks, Hurts hadn't turned in many touchdowns through the air. Most of his touchdowns were him on the ground or a running back, right? Or jet sweep. Those seem to be the three ways they were scoring. Mahomes this year, none of us think that he's playing with any A-level talent outside of Kelsey.
Right.
None of his offensive weapons are guys that you think are, and the guys that had the biggest catches for him yesterday, Sky Moore, right? Sky Moore had a catch.
Justin Watson had a big catch.
Justin Watson had a catch. These are not guys that are on people's radars, not even on some guys' fantasy radars, right?
Sky Moore is, Justin Watson's not.
You have Mahomes going out and doing what a real MVP does.
Sure it was Sky Moore that had a catch?
I don't know about Sky Moore. I know Justin Watson.
I think it was Watson.
What was the big catch at the end?
Justin Watson.
Juju Smith-Schuster had 10. I know that. But I'm trying to look because
all
the targets are to
none of us say
literally Kelsey, Juju Smith, Hardman had, and then McKinnon had 8 targets out of the backfield.
And Hardman's played really well in that Tyreek role, and they mentioned that on the broadcast last night. But even at that, none of us thought that he would be, that productive of a player as he has been.
Right.
The productivity comes from their quarterback.
Yeah.
And their quarterback is really, really good. There's no doubt in my mind, and I think it's a clear-cut case. He's the MVP this year. And unless he stumbles up, I don't see who else is really going to overtake him here. Lamar fell off from his start.
Depends on how Allen bounces back, though.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a three-person race between Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen.
Now, if Hurts keeps the touchdowns through the air on, then I would say that he probably gives Mahomes a good run for the money.
But look what they're
doing.
doing. Look what they're doing right now. Go look at the Philadelphia Eagles' schedule.
Yep.
And let me know when they play a good team again. Because I'll tell you,
Dallas
it's like 5 weeks from now when they play Dallas.
Right.
Because they play a whole slew of cupcakes.
Of course.
So it's going to be the Jalen Hurts
second or third place schedule this year?
I don't know.
Second or third place? When did they finish last year?
I don't know.
They finished in second.
They're playing a second place schedule this year.
Yeah.
So.
And the thing is that, we've been saying it since last year. Like I tooted my, I yelled from the mountaintop how mad I was that Kirk Cousins was in the Pro Bowl and Hurts wasn't. Like, there was no reason for that last year. The guy's good. You're right. He is definitely someone that is giving a run for the money. But when you look at it, and if you're voting on the MVP, and you see what Mahomes is doing,
it's a bad offensive line
with
still.
What he has
right.
compared to what Hurts is doing. Because let's be fair, Hurts has 2 number 1 receivers.
Yeah, they went out and got, right?
He went and got a
and they
1A
lost Tyreek Hill.
and kept a 1B.
Right.
So they already have 2 number 1 receivers. They've got good skill position players on that team. They're fairly deep.
They actually have a running back.
They have a running back, and they actually have a couple of good pass-catching running backs
theirs.
that they use in the screen game, which is another element that they use.
Yeah.
So my point is, these guys are, that Mahomes is elevating the guys that are around him, and that's a true MVP.
Well,
that reminds me of Kobe. When Kobe had nobody but him on the team, and they were still out winning, and people were like, how are they winning? And Kobe was getting guys 18 and 20 points a night.
But Mahomes had to have a little chip on his shoulder when he came into the season because everyone was talking about how he was washed, and then he lost Tyreek Hill, and he's not going to be able to do it. He's got no weapons around him, so he's probably got a little chip on his shoulder, I'm sure.
Well, and he started that way, and you know what? Honestly, if I'm the Chiefs, I was probably feeding that.
Yeah.
Because if you know how he entered the league, where he was doubted and second guessed and all this stuff, that everything was second guessed. Oh, he's Brett Favre, but not as accurate.
Right.
He's this but not this. He's this but not this.
Right.
Allen's better. Brady's better. Lamar is better. Right. At this point, I think that that's probably a good thing for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Probably is. Now, as an AFC West guy, I'm not thrilled about it because it's going to make it really tough for the Chargers to have a chance to win that division. Not just this year, maybe years moving forward, because this guy is that good.
Well, half the team's injured all the time.
You guys will make the playoffs, though, because the Raiders and Broncos are so bad.
Well, yeah, and that's definitely been a thing. We Chargers pulled out a game winner, against the Falcons, and I want to sit here and say they played horribly. They didn't play great, but defense played pretty good. So did the Falcons' defense.
I know, but you guys shouldn't be letting the Falcons hang around.
Shouldn't.
There's nobody to throw to.
But we sit there and say that every week.
Palmer.
Yeah, that was it.
We sit
That's
there
pretty
and
much
we're
it. You know what I'm
saying
saying?
this
Gerald
about
Everett, Austin Eckler,
Who's not as good as I thought he'd be on that team,
Yeah.
but
Gerald Everett.
but you have no, but
He's
then you have
having
no
one
Mike
of his best
Williams. You
years.
don't have Keenan Allen anymore.
Keenan Allen, I
you
don't
just
know what
lost the
happened to
best
him.
left tackle, almost arguably top 3 best left tackle in football. The Chargers don't have. And they don't have Joey Bosa. They don't have. They lose somebody, at least 3-4 guys every year.
You saw Keenan Allen got hurt again, right?
He's always hurt.
Yeah.
No, but he came back, right? And then
Yeah.
he got hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm
He
saying.
got
There's
hurt
nobody
the
to
second snap he
yeah.
saw. Yeah.
Like Odell Beckham should think, hey, I should go to the Chargers. He'll get a ton of targets.
No, we'll talk about Odell Beckham in a minute.
So
But I'm
the
just saying,
thing
like,
is,
it's
the
crazy.
thing is that I think that we're knocking the Falcons a lot, and I think that young Falcons defense is actually pretty good. I think they're playing pretty well. I know they gave up 34 to Carolina, but again, everybody has an off week. They've kept their team in games. They've made stops when they need to make stops.
Yeah.
Heck, they made stops yesterday when they needed to make stops. Herbie just happened to pull a couple things out, as a good quarterback should do.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers end up winning that game. They had to win that game. They could not lose that game
No, you
after
can't lose
losing to the
Atlanta
Seahawks.
No. Shouldn't have lost to the
Absolutely
Seahawks.
can't. And couldn't do it.
Letting bad teams hang around.
Speaking of, is this team good or bad? I don't know, but the Bengals, are they good or are they bad?
I think they're good. I don't think they're great right now. Obviously,
Right.
That's pretty obvious, but I mean, I don't count them out yet.
But
they get Jamar Chase back in a couple weeks.
So they're not the best
They
in their
get-
division
right now. No,
5 weeks.
huh?
Right?
It's like 5
5
weeks away.
weeks, yeah.
Yeah, that's
For
what,
Jamar Chase.
what did I say? A couple weeks.
A couple
Couple
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like they said 4 to 6 weeks.
But
so.
that's gonna be that's a tough stretch.
Yeah.
Because you're
They
gonna
still
start
have
playing
Boyd.
division
They still have
games.
Higgins. They still
Well,
have.
and they had
Mixon.
Joe Mixon, who
I mean, they still
went
have-
off.
Yeah.
5 touchdowns, unbelievable day for him. And, he was, I use this image of the defender diving for him, right? And Joe Mixon was doing that all day long.
Yeah.
Defenders were constantly in the chase and frantically trying to find a way to catch him. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they motivated him. I don't know if they called some different play calls. I didn't watch the whole game, so
Carolina hasn't stopped the run all year, so they kind of knew that was the method they were going to go with. They were going to run Joe Mixon, but for Carolina not to be able to make some kind of an adjustment and be like, okay, let's stop Joe Mixon
you're talking about coaching here.
after his 3rd touchdown and then his 4th touchdown.
Well, you got an
his 5th
interim coach
touchdown.
right now.
And let's talk about coaching here. We have interim coach
Yeah.
who then brought in
Right,
Baker
so-
Mayfield. Baker Mayfield comes in, looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look great, but it looked okay.
Right.
And then comes out today and announces that Washington will be the starter on Thursday.
Walker.
Or Walker.
PJ
We
Walker.
keep saying PJ Washington.
PJ
PJ Walker will be the starter on Thursday.
Yeah, he did.
He already
made the
PJ
announcement
Walker.
that Walker will be the starter on Thursday.
He did.
Is there a chance that an interim head coach could then
be fired
right after,
or say something completely stupid?
If 2 Carolina coaches get fired before Nathaniel Hackett, I don't even know.
The only thing I can hope is that they make a trade for Nathaniel
2
Hackett.
Carolina head
That's the only
coaches.
thing I can hope for. I don't know, but I'll say this.
Yeah, it's so bad.
That to me is just egregious.
Mm-hmm.
That once you made the move back to Baker, you don't take that away. That locker room is going to be an absolute shambles.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have half the locker room
Yeah.
on one side, half the locker room on the other. It's going to be a constant fight. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be an absolute mess. And honestly, you should have. Once you decided to go to Baker in that game, you should have been like, Baker, take it until the wheels fall off at this
I
point.
didn't think it
We're
looked
already
that bad,
losing.
yeah.
We're going to draft a quarterback this year anyways.
You
You're
should
out.
be
You're
starting
out.
once he
It
came
doesn't
back.
matter.
Right.
It's just
It's just, and again,
coaches overthink
there's
it.
so many poor coaching, so much poor coaching, so many poor decisions, which is why at the very beginning of the year we were knocking Nathaniel Hackett, we were knocking a few things. I even knocked a decision that Pete Carroll made, which didn't affect him, but was in timeout management, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say it, Pete Carroll has really, really ran his team well this year.
Yeah.
He's a great coach.
It's surprising. And, I heard Colin Cowherd talking about their drafting and how they drafted and the home runs they hit in the draft this year.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that are contributing, that are involved, that are doing it.
Yeah.
And, if you think back to when Pete Carroll kind of like shifted the tide there and brought in the Legion of Boom and all this stuff and did all this 2 years of drafts where he ended up with all those defensive backs and everybody's like, why is he drafting all of them? And then all of a sudden they shut down and they go to the Super Bowl. Like, all he's doing is repeating his model. And he's doing a great job at it. And I think it's incredible what we're seeing from Seattle and for them to be resilient like they were and to see Geno Smith do a Geno Smith thing and go and throw a pick like he did late.
Yeah.
You'd be like, Geno Smith going to hang his head, going to fumble the next drive. Like, that's what you expect. And then the dude goes out and wins the game.
Yeah, Geno Smith looks like what we thought Russell Wilson was going to be in Denver.
Yeah.
Like, he that's what it reminds me of. I'm like, and Geno Smith, hats off to him, man, because he's killed it this year.
Absolutely.
Even in their losses, he's played well.
Oh,
He hasn't given
unbelievable.
the game away, So kudos to Geno Smith, man. I did not see that coming.
Nobody does.
There's nobody
That's the
that
NFL.
banked on him.
Nobody.
My question becomes, is the hobby going to start giving him some love?
Nope.
Or is there so much hate right
too
now
late.
on where it was because it's so late?
His
too
rookie
late
cards,
for him.
yeah, but anything recent, no.
It's
Because-
too late. It's too late. Like, I mean, rookie cards are probably I would venture to.
I'm
bet
gonna
they're-
guess they got to be up a little bit.
They're up
Hey,
like
what's
how
up?
not?
Like,
I don't know. Maybe I
they're
said a
up
little
like
bit. Like, I
they're
don't
up like
know.
14%.
PSA
Is
10s
it
are
really?
$30.
It's like 14%. It's not even really close.
I think it's
right?
too late. I think it's too
Right.
late for the hobby to be
Right.
like swarming over Geno Smith because he's at the end of his career. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer, and you just know that the Seahawks are going to kind of fizzle out towards the end. Like, they're not going to be a Super Bowl contender. Like, it'll be a nice story, but
I mean, if they do, Pete Carroll's going to go in that hierarchy of coaches. He's going to find a rung to climb.
yeah.
Because if he does it with this team and surprises the entire world, will be crazy. Chicago Card Connection Anthony said, why can't these coaches use common sense and take a damn point? Too much relying on statistics. We're actually going to talk about that
It's the
in
worst
another
thing ever.
segment today. So we're going to save that comment, but we're going to circle back to it in a surprising fashion. And then he made the comment that they're going to treat Geno Smith like Matthew Stafford. And then, Jacob Rivera had said that Sean Payton will be the first guy hired this next year. You forget that he's out there, right? We do. We kind of forget that he's out there.
Yeah.
And I think he was actually waiting to see if the Cowboys were going to make a move.
McCarthy
Right?
was
If
bad.
McCarthy was going to be gone.
I still rather have
That-
Sean Payton than McCarthy.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
if you're
I
gonna
don't care if
go,
we go 15
Okay.
and 1 or 2. I don't care. I'd rather take.
Yeah, I
Sean
really don't.
Payton.
Yeah, if we
Yeah.
have a chance to get Sean Payton, then that door needs to be open.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is that I think that he's waiting there. So we'll see how these fall because let's say at the end of the year, let's say Cowboys make the playoffs, lose in the first round, Cowboys relieve McCarthy of his duties. Another team is going to take McCarthy based on the fact that he did go and he did
Because there's so
keep
many
them
other bad
competitive.
coaches.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
There's so many bad coaches.
Jason
out
Garrett
there.
got a job too. So
I'm okay with losing McCarthy.
The Clapper.
There's a lot of bad coaching this year. There's been a lot of bad decisions. Terrible clock management we've talked about. Guys really kind of going off that analytical standpoints, which I don't think in football it was as there's been those days, and I recall there was this. I remember Marshall Faulk was at San Diego State, and they were interviewing the San Diego State coach one day, and I think Marshall ran the ball almost 50 times or something. They had been like a mix all year, and they go, why was Marshall running the ball all day today? And he said, because before the game, he told me he felt better today than he's felt his entire time in college going into this game. And he goes, if he felt that good, that means he was the best player on the field that day.
Yeah.
Sometimes that
Common
feeling is
sense
there.
every once in a
Common
while.
sense needs to be made.
Yeah.
Guys aren't making those decisions. They're not seeing guys doing things,
Right.
being like, it reminds me early in the year seeing George Pickens like going out and getting all these balls that Trubisky was throwing 5 yards, away
Right.
from him.
Right.
And then them not using him the way they should have and just keep feeding him the ball until he gets triple teamed and then frees up the other. Like, bad coaching all the way around. There's going to be this huge carousel changing. I think it might be one of the biggest coach come and go ever.
Black Monday.
Like this might be one of the biggest Black Mondays ever.
Isn't it usually 5 to 7 coaches anyway?
It's probably going to be 7. I would think.
I would assume.
I mean, we could run down the list right now, and we're not even talking.
We've already lost.
If we
2?
add in the guys the
2.
2 we've already lost,
So.
the one that we know is going to be gone, right? Which is Daniel Hackett.
They'll give Hackett and McDaniels the year because it's their first year.
So
yeah,
if it was their
but
second
I think
interim
both of them.
Interim coaches don't count on Black Monday,
no,
right?
No.
Okay.
But I think both of those guys
this might
probably
be a
are
total
gone,
of like 11
right?
the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So those 2 might be gone.
Yeah.
That's 4 before we even start talking about some of the other guys, the McCarthys, the situation with the Steelers, like these we're not even talking about those tougher decisions to make.
Green
right?
Bay's coach is LaFleur.
Green Bay, LaFleur.
That ain't his fault. That's
Whose fault is it?
Yeah, you start looking at it.
Rodgers is terrible.
They didn't go out and get a.
That ain't LaFleur's.
They tried,
he's the GM.
They tried.
Is he the GM? I don't know if he's the GM. I don't know how much say he has.
Isn't it like
I'm asking
or
you.
something?
No.
I think it's Demosky. But they tried.
Right,
to
but I'm saying
to get a receiver.
There's 17 people who make the decision.
The Chiefs got a receiver. You mean tell me the Packers can't?
Did you see who they were going after? Did you see who they were going after? The 2 guys that they told Aaron Rodgers
something
we were
ridiculous.
going after. They went after Chase Claypool, which who gives a shit?
And he went to the
And
Bears.
they went after Darren Waller, who's like over 30 years old
and injured.
And injured.
a
That's the
lot.
2 guys they went
That's
after.
how bad they are. So how can you blame the coach? That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like, why is it his fault for the Packers? I don't see him
because
doing.
he needs to use more 2 running back sets. I've been saying
Right.
since the week 1. When you don't have good receivers and they're young and they're rookies, you have to use your 2 best playmakers, which are Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Use them at the same time. They both can catch. Keep the defenses about balance. You don't know. Are we going to run the ball? Are they going to do a swing
Aaron
pass?
Rodgers, here's the thing, too,
picks
though.
inside the freaking red zone.
They're
It was terrible.
They not
He
just
looked
that
awful.
they're good that they're good at receiving the ball. That both those running backs are probably. I mean, this might be a stretch, but I'm going to say maybe they're top 10 in route running as running backs.
Yeah, they
are
good.
both very good route runners.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, oh, we had
And
no
that
way
is
to catch
key,
the ball.
right? The guy that will angle in 2 steps and come to the ball to make the catch,
Right.
rather than letting the defender cut in front of him to do it. Like that route running skill, that's not something that everybody has, and those running backs have it, which is why they're a huge commodity. Either of those guys hit the market, there's 1,000 teams lined up.
But that's my point.
You know?
Is that when you have to know with what you're doing. So Matt LaFleur, this is why it's his fault. Is that you don't have Devontae Adams to take the top off the defense. You don't have that anymore. So stop throwing the ball 40-yard bombs on because Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like he
this
can
wasn't
make that
40.
throw.
There was a 4-yard pass. He got intercepted, thrown to a tackle, and then the other interception he threw it off the guy's helmet. That's That's Aaron Rodgers' fault. That's what I mean. Like I don't think Aaron Rodgers' head's all in the season. Like I think he's been playing just as bad as Stafford and Brady.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Ever since ayahuasca. So the Stafford thing, just to mention that really quick, let's circle
Don't
back
go
to
to Peru.
the breaking news that we started with Josh Allen's injury. Mm-hmm. It's easy for us to forget UCL injury was the injury that Matthew Stafford had coming into the season, and we're seeing the results of that. He's not as accurate. He's not getting the ball out as quickly, and he wasn't mobile like Allen is.
Why is he only accurate when he throws Cooper Kupp?
Because they're comfortable.
No. Because Cooper runs the routes and makes him better because he'll come back to the ball or he'll stop and slow down because he's that good of a receiver.
Have you seen the passes he throws to like Van Jefferson?
Yeah,
Van
but
Jefferson,
those guys don't
right off his chest.
What
Van Jefferson.
Allen Robinson? Allen Robinson
it seems like he's he's
and then it's all of a
forcing
sudden
it.
it's like 4 yards over his head, and I'm like, well, because I'm playing Allen Robinson, and it's like, dude,
right.
like where the hell was that throw? Like who are you throwing it to?
You're like he's forcing the ball. Like remember we were talking about last week. He seems like he's physically trying to just get the ball to Allen Robinson, and it's awful.
And then he had this rapport with Higbee all year, and then yesterday Higbee had 0 points.
Yeah.
That UCL, it's in the final push, right? So when you let go of the football at the very end, that push when you extend, that's where the UCL it really like plays. It's almost like a start stopper, right? So that right there, when you don't have that push right at the end, that's the difference of it being a little high. Well, a little high, 12 yards away is a lot high, right? Or being lower in the ground and holding on to it too long because of not being able to really get rid of it. It's the same thing. When a pitcher has that issue, it's why they go get Tommy John And the reason they do is because as soon as that has a partial tear at all, right, they know he's not as effective in finishing his pitches, and if you don't finish, he's not going to be as accurate. And here you are, quarterback, not being able to finish, not being as accurate.
His UCL acts up every time he throws Allen Robinson.
It does.
Every single time he throws Allen Robinson.
Yes.
Let's get into your portion of the program, the stuff you love to talk about. It is time for Jay's Fantasy Roundup, where we talk about your fantasy and what you could be doing. And Jay, I got to tell you, I'm coming in the second week in a row.
Yeah.
And I'm going to beat my chest a little bit.
Yeah.
I had Joe Mixon in one league, right? I have Justin Jefferson, and I had Henry going in another league. So those guys are there. I still have Lamar to go in both leagues.
I'm pretty sure you're in second place in the Game Day League.
I think I'm moving up there. I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah, because you beat Hoodie. You beat Jared this week.
Well, I will.
No.
I will. It's not done yet.
Hoodie this week?
It's not done yet. Yeah, I'm playing Hoodie. It's not done.
Yeah, he's taking over. I'm coming for you.
No, I lost to.
And then
lost the because I had everybody injured. It's so bad.
Lost to.
But
I had to
say,
pick up freaking Isaiah Pacheco.
guys, if you need
So
information on fantasy, like pickups and suggestions and advice and all this stuff, Jay will help you. Jay said something a few weeks back. He was just kind of, it was actually in a side conversation. We made some comments about some kickers, right? And he made a comment about how the Vikings kicker just always seems to not miss. Like, he just kind of made the comment. He was available. I went and picked him up.
See?
He literally helped me win last week.
There you
right?
go.
So these are the things that you guys can listen to. So Jay, we're on the edge of our seat. What advice do you have for us this week in
Okay,
fantasy?
so really fast, we'll go over the injury rundown real quick, just so everyone kind of knows in case you have this guy on your roster. Josh Allen, we talked about his arm. Wait and see what happens on Tuesday. That's when they're supposed to find out anything extra. And
Who's the backup there?
The backup, if I remember correctly, is it not Matt Barkley anymore? Is it still Matt Barkley?
I think Barkley retired, didn't he?
That part from
Look up for the Buffalo Bills backup.
None of us know who the backup is because Josh Allen's so good.
Whoever it is, you're not picking them up anyways because he's not Josh Allen.
Of
Don't
course.
bother.
Case
Don't bother
Keenum.
picking up Case Keenum.
Yep.
Don't bother picking up Case Keenum.
He's 34. Hey, that can't be that bad. If you have nobody out there are you talking about a redraft? Yeah, Dynasty. It's my only thing I have
I
left.
would only pick up Case Keenum.
So I'm in a league with a bunch of
super
savages
flex.
who take every freaking quarterback possible.
Well, be a savage yourself. That's how you win championships, Dave.
I've won 2 of them in that league. So please.
Aaron Jones hurt his ankle. They say he's going to be week to week. They actually checked him out, got X-rays done. They said there's no structural damage, so he should be good to go. I think they'll probably give him a couple of days of rest at practice. Romeo Doubs, not the same case. High ankle sprain for Romeo Doubs. He's the guy that has kind of emerged as Aaron Rodgers' number one, kind of a de facto. He's also a rookie. He's now out 4 to 6 weeks. He left their game yesterday with no walking boot after he got carted off. Christian Watson, the other rookie who's been very disappointing for Green Bay, concussion. So he's going to be in the concussion protocol all week. That leaves Samari Torrey as like their de facto number one as far as wide receivers go. It's not going to be a good week for Green Bay. It's you thought that the ultimate low was Aaron Rodgers losing to the Lions.
You know they play this week too,
It's going to get
Playing
lower.
the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
It's going to
It's
be
not gonna
lower.
be good.
And it's that whole
He's gonna get
Mike
his ass the whole
McCarthy,
game.
Right? It's that whole revenge.
Yeah, it's on
scenario.
TV.
And a bye week, they're coming off
Big
and
TV
healthy.
and
They're going to
healthy
destroy
and-
their ass.
Mark Andrews, who actually plays tonight, is out.
Yes.
This will be his second game that he's missed. Gus Edwards is also out for tonight's game.
And
Gus
I went
Edwards
and
is
picked
out?
up- I went
Gus
and
Edwards
picked
is
up.
out.
I got a chance.
I went and picked up
Yeah,
Isaiah
great.
Likely
Yeah.
at the beginning, Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday. I went and picked up Likely in case Andrews would be out. So I did make the move earlier in the week.
Yeah,
I actually
very
made
likely
the move
that-
and put Likely
Very likely
in.
that Andrews is going to miss the game
Yeah.
tonight.
Very,
I know,
And then
right?
also,
I knew
just to
somebody was
touch
going
on
to play off that. I knew somebody was going to do
the
that.
Baltimore Ravens also put Rashad Bateman on the IR for the season. He's out for the season. When he's played, he's done really well,
Yeah.
but he hasn't been able to stay on the field, so he's also out. The Ravens are getting hit with a lot of injuries right now at the wrong time too. Waiver wire ads. So in no particular order, I told you earlier we had a quarterback to talk about in case you do have Josh Allen or if you have bye weeks. Justin Fields.
Yeah.
This dude has been on a tear lately, and I know the Bears aren't winning. They're still 3-5, but this dude is putting up fantasy points. He ran for 170 yards yesterday. He threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for another against Miami's defense, which I know they're not like top 5, but they're a decent defense.
They are.
And Fields shredded them. And so he's the guy that you want to go out and pick up. He's a great fantasy quarterback right now because they also have a pretty easy schedule coming up. Running back wise, Jeff Wilson looked good his first game at Miami. He actually scored a touchdown. Jalen Warren, we've been talking about this guy a little bit. He had a bye week last week for the Steelers. Najee Harris, we just don't know how he's going to do. They don't have a good offensive line there, but I like picking up backups, especially like this late in the season, especially teams that may be packing it in, teams that may not be out there. So go pick up Jalen Warren. Another guy we talked about, this is a really deep league. We talked about Pacheco a second ago. Mm-hmm. He outsnapped CEH 22-17.
Yeah.
So it's a guy that if you have a lot of injuries and you have guys that you go pick him up and just stash him on your bench.
He returns kicks too.
Yeah, even if you're not going to play the guy though, you go out and stash that guy just in case because it looks like he's getting a lot of playing time. Wide receiver wise, Josh Palmer, the guy was given a chance to insert that number one role in with the Chargers in Los Angeles there. No Mike Williams still. Keenan Allen comes back and re-injures himself. Yep. He's the number one guy there, and he actually had 10 or 12 catches yesterday.
It's like 10 or 12. I think he had 12 targets, 10 receptions.
And then the guy I want to mention, this is a preemptive because he's going to be coming back in the next few weeks, is Odell. The talks are starting to heat up a little bit about what teams he's going to go to. Now, he just did an interview with a magazine that just got released, and he literally said he called out 4 teams, which I thought was very peculiar, and then he backtracked a little bit. He says, or any team out there. But the fact that he mentioned these 4 teams, I found it very interesting. He mentioned the Giants, a little reunion with the Giants. He mentioned the Packers, obviously because that's a glaring need right in Green Bay.
Yeah.
He mentioned the Bills, because obviously they were one of the top teams. And he mentioned the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
That was one of the teams he mentioned, which I found very interesting because that sounds like a Jerry Jones move. It sounds like Jerry Jones would go out and get Odell, even if it's just to sell jerseys. He would go out and get him. So
he'll try, but just cap space,
but there's some things you can do. I was looking. There's some things they can do.
He's going to come. Odell's going to come back on another deal, and the reason he's back on another deal is because he's coming off an injury.
Right. So he's going
to come back as a vet minimum. So I don't know that you're worried about it affecting your cap space.
No, it'll be a lot.
He'll ask for a lot because that's what I think he wants a longer extension. But
it's still going to be almost half the season. But when can he actually start playing? What week?
They said mid-November, so they didn't give a date. They said mid-November, so I'm assuming it's that November 12th or 19th type area there. So that's coming up in the next few weeks. It's already the 7th of November.
So let's say he comes back week 12.
Right.
You still got him for 12 to 8. So he's gonna demand some money. But
he is, because that's just Odell.
Right.
Who's going to be willing to pay that? And you're going to have a bunch of suitors. You're going to have a bunch of guys that are going to line up.
There's teams that'll probably be borderline playoff, and they'll say, you know what, we have this much cap space, let's just spend it, get him in here.
Well, you put him in
the
Dallas,
Ravens might not. Maybe the Ravens go after him. Who knows? But it's possible.
If I was Odell,
If
I was Odell, my list of teams in order, number 32 would be the Tennessee Titans, and number 31 would be the Baltimore Ravens.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he's still Lamar Jackson's a running back.
Lamar Jackson's a really good running back,
and he throws a market. Well, if he's injured, and
play selection.
Yeah. he doesn't throw to anybody. He's not.
No, he's not.
I'll tell you what. If I was Odell Beckham, I would go to a team where I could be a number 2. Go be number 2.
Most of the top teams, he's going to end up being a 2, except
right.
For
but if he goes to Green Bay, he's going to try to be a number 1. There's these spots that he goes.
He could be a number 2 in Buffalo. Like he could overtake Gabe Davis as the number 2 there.
Yeah, Gabe Davis is injured.
I think that's the play, because what he did with Cooper Kupp last year.
Oh, they were great.
That was amazing, right? And we'll see. We'll see.
He'd be the number 1 in New York too. If he with the Giants,
right?
He'd be the number 1.
Again, he'd be the number 1. So I just think that the situation,
way number 1.
The situation that I would pick would be to go be a number 2 somewhere. And even with Dallas, I don't know if CeeDee Lamb would be the number 1, but I don't know if CeeDee Lamb is that much more of a number 1 than if Odell is good, right? Because at the end of the day, even a little knockoff of Odell Beckham is probably better than CeeDee Lamb. So, and again, I just don't know if you want him to go be the number 1 somewhere.
I look at Gallup more of a 1 than I do CeeDee Lamb. It's just that CeeDee Lamb can get open a lot easier.
Right.
He's just got more talent, he's more gifted. But to put him on it would be interesting to see. But it would just
that's
a lot of receivers if they're all healthy.
That's the kind of move they need to make, though, in order to keep pace with the Eagles, who went out and made their moves. They went out and got Quinn. They got A.J. Brown in the offseason, but they went out and got Quinn to kind of shore up their defense. And our defense is good.
That's incredible what the Eagles did at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And addressing the small amount of need that they needed
right.
with the draft and putting the guys in the draft pieces. Like we mentioned it just last week, just a little bit, but like, Nakobe Dean's hardly even seeing the field. Mm-hmm. He was a first-round pick for them this year.
He's injured.
Right. He was barely seeing the field before.
No, he's been out the whole year, hasn't he?
No, he was able to play, but he's been like 3 on the depth chart.
I thought he tore his ACL.
I think they're keeping him.
Who was it?
Out. Maybe I'm wrong.
Dean.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought he was out the whole year.
I thought I was seeing that he was number 3 on the depth chart.
He was deep on the depth chart.
I could have maybe I'm wrong.
And the reason and what we're saying is because right now, while they're where they're at, there's no reason for them to. They'd rather let that young guy. It's almost like sitting a quarterback, right? Is what I was reading, but maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not that deep on the depth chart of the Eagles, so.
I know. I do IDP leagues, and I can remember seeing Nakobe Dean out. I don't know. Maybe it was something injury but it's interesting now.
But my point is, what they made the moves with the young players that they have contributing, and the stuff that they did with their draft, because they had an incredible draft. They had 5 picks in the first 2 rounds or something.
Yeah, he dropped to the 3rd round, Nakobe Dean, because of pectoral injury.
Yeah.
He's not willing to play. Is he healthy?
He's healthy. It says they said, why is he not playing? And it says there's the 2 linebackers in front of him, T.J. Edwards and
injury caused Nakobe Dean to slide.
Yeah.
He has not shown any interest with the Eagles yet because of his injury. It's all injuries. And
so the thing is, they haven't even had to try to utilize him yet.
Nope. Well, he's allowed to come back week 6, it said.
And so the smart thing here is, if I'm the Eagles, I'm doing the right thing. I've got some great depth there.
Yeah.
Of a number 1 pick, of a guy that can sit and learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
so Robert Quinn, because Robert Quinn's not there for the long haul.
Yeah.
He's older. He's there to win right now.
He's just an end too. Right. He's not going to play.
He's there to win right now.
Nakobe Dean's a solid linebacker. He's literally can play like Michael Parsons. His speed and agility and everything.
So here the thing is what the Eagles have done. I think that they're being ran really well. Mm-hmm. That organization is being ran really well. They're making good decisions, and got to tip the cap where it should be, and that's we need to give the whole organization,
they're probably going to win the Super Bowl.
Credit.
Congratulations to them.
Oh, I like that you did that because you're doing your jinx on it.
Slid that right in there.
Eagles win the Super Bowl right here. I'm writing it down.
He wants to put that because
they got the easiest
Cowboy
schedule.
Cowboy fan in him comes out
in writing, Dave, because everything I put in writing so far has come. I put the Yankees
down.
I did. Eagles will win the Super Bowl.
You did put the Yankees.
I put the Yankees will win the World Series. Eagles will win the Super Bowl.
You did that just to go back at Jay.
Speaking of the World Series, the Astros are the World Series winners. And, going into the playoffs, we talked about how good they were. Let's just be honest. The best team in baseball this year was the Houston Astros. The best team all year long was the Houston Astros. The team that made the best decisions with their roster all year was the Houston Astros.
Yes.
The team that developed probably the best talent this year to play in the major leagues was the Houston Astros. I could sit there and go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. At this point, my question to you guys is that asterisk erased with the whole banging the trash cans?
But
what I'm saying is this now proving that they were good enough to win, good enough to be there?
I think they were good enough without the cheating.
Right.
So, they draft. Look at their draft class. It's ridiculous. They don't even have Carlos Correa and George Springer on the team, and they still dominated this year.
In 2017, when how Sports Illustrated predicted, said they were going to win the World Series in 2017, and it became true. There's only 5 guys left off that roster that are still with the team.
Correct.
So it's not like that you went out and just got a whole bunch of brand new big name. We didn't go out and get Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge and all these guys.
It was their farm system.
They did the farm system.
They built internally.
And it's all these other guys come up.
Framber Valdez
is
a number 1 starter. He is a number 1 who was starting in the 2-3 spot all year this year. Mm-hmm. And he's a number 1 starter on almost any team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I can name probably 10 for sure.
Not the Angels, right? He's not number 1 there. He's not number 1, although he could be for the
Oakland
Mets,
A's,
right? Right. But
my Marlins aren't that bad. At least we got Alcantara.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that there's very few teams that guy's not number 1 on, and how he pitched this offseason, this postseason.
Yeah.
Had Jeremy Pena not had the playoff run and the World Series run that he had, Framber Valdez might be your MVP.
Yes.
Dude gave up, 2 runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pitched his absolute rear off. But I mentioned Pena, and we absolutely should. Pena, the World Series MVP, the ALCS MVP.
Yeah.
Our guess is runner-up for Rookie of the Year.
Also, he won
and-
Gold
Was
Gloves.
he,
as a
they
rookie.
he
did
won
they do
Gold
rookie year
Glove.
before?
They do it before.
Okay, so that's why.
So he probably doesn't get it because of that. But, if you went back and looked at it and you asked us all to just take the 2 of their seasons again and look at it,
Right.
you'd probably go, you know what? That
So, one did make
that
the-
3-week period that Jeremy Pena was hurt was the only reason why he's not the Rookie of the Year. He wins a Gold Glove, as you mentioned.
As a rookie, yeah.
As a rookie, and there's a good chance, he's got a good chance to win a Silver Slugger, too, and let's not forget about that, because that's also another accolade you'll add up. This is going down as potentially one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. And I mention this because we talked about him weeks ago. We talked about Jeremy Pena before the playoffs. We talked about Jeremy Pena towards the end of the season. And then, when they won the ALCS, I brought it up again. Guys, this kid is legit. He is likable. And he's Latin descent and speaks perfect English, which is important for marketing. He is everything that Major League Baseball needs right now. And him, and then Rodriguez, and then you're going to have a few of these guys coming up with Boston that are going to be coming up soon, that when these guys make the major leagues, the Marcelo Myers, the Blaze Jordans, you're going to have a very marketable American League with some players, and this kid is going to be at the forefront of it. And what's crazy to think is that he's at the forefront of it as a young player, and this guy's on his team.
On a 2-1, Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Beer leans back. This game is turned upside down.
Crazy.
Jordan Alvarez.
Didn't you just have the feeling though when that happened that something was going to happen?
Soon as he took him
I
out,
was
I'm
watching
like,
that and I was like, something's going to happen. He's either going
All
to
I
get a
tried
double.
to get on William Hill fast enough to bet the over.
Well,
For the rest of the game. I just couldn't
let's talk
get there.
about that moment, but let's give credit where credit's due. Jordan Alvarez is everything a superstar should be. The guy absolutely mashes. He hits in big moments. He hits the go-ahead game-winning home run in the World Series when they're at home, and that opportunity to do. I mean, just you name it. This guy's doing it. Bregman had a great year, but when you think about Pena being as good as he was, and this guy's on his team, this I'm telling you, their pitching set up that even if they don't have Verlander down the road, they don't have some. Verlander's 40, right?
Yeah.
You don't have some of these guys down the road. They're set up to be competitive for a few years. That, I mean, if you're in that AL West, that's a really tough pill to swallow. And I'm going to tell you, after watching this World Series, this was my takeaway. As crazy as it is, my takeaway was the Angels are probably going to shop out Shohei in the offseason.
Yeah.
And going into the World Series, I thought there was a chance they might keep him. But after you watch that, and if you're the general manager and you go, I've got 4 more years at minimum of that, of that core working together, those young guys, the Tucker's an all-star, right? Like these guys together. I don't know. And even Altuve's getting a little bit older. He didn't have the greatest World Series, but when clutch mattered, he was involved, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like every step along the way, they got great leadership.
Clutch hitting,
Great leadership. They've got guys that can play. If anything, if you wanted to, Maldonado's a nice catcher. Maybe they try to upgrade at catcher. That might be
defensively perfect.
Yeah, he's really good defensively.
Play
He's just not
defense,
a
bat
good
ninth
stick.
every once in a while. Come through. That's all you do.
Maybe that's the one area if you want to give them any knock. If I'm the Angels, I'm going. I need 4 core guys like them, not one great player.
Right.
And I think ultimately,
And where there's smoke, there's fire. We talked about it. Like, remember that all of a sudden his name was being floated out there as maybe a trade possibility, and we're like, whoa.
Well, if he's going to get traded, he's going to get it. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, and
I'm
so
sure
what
I
they're
think
going to ask for. Somebody's
well,
going to
that's what I was
going
going to say is that what the Padres gave up for Juan Soto, you can almost double that
at least
for Shohei.
At
The
least
Yankees
he's a
will go
pitcher.
after him.
Maybe 3-4
Well, it's going to
times
have to
more.
be a team that's going to be willing to give up young prospects and everything. The one that stands out to me that can immediately do it is the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox are the one team that have the depth and assets, and then maybe the Florida Marlins, and I just don't see that being a reality. But the Red Sox absolutely have the farm system to do it with. They've got some young arms. They've got position players that they're stacked behind position players. Right? They moved Dalbec into the outfield. Dalbec could be packaged. You could move
Duran.
You can move Jeter. You've got Duran. Then you go down the list. You got Nick York coming still, right? They've got all this depth with young players. Falefa is another one that they could probably do. Or Rafaela.
That would be great though if they did that because the Yankees are going to go after him.
Yeah.
Even if they get turned down with their offer, you know the Yankees are going to go after him.
They got a lot of prospects too. I mean,
Right.
not a lot, but they also can just say,
They
you know
have
what?
a couple, but
we
they
can take on whatever contracts
like
you want.
one of the guys that they should have kept to be able to make a move like this was, right? They moved, which was Bowman. When they made the move with Bowman, they traded Bowman to the Reds this year, right? Bowman would have been a piece that almost any team would have wanted incorporated with. If the Yankees go to make the moves that they would need, they'll still be chasing a shortstop. They'll still be chasing a third baseman. They're still right now. The Yankees need a third baseman, a shortstop. Well,
what does Volpe play?
Volpe's a shortstop, and Oswaldo Cabrera is probably the shortstop of the future. So I think he showed he can play. So you're either going to see a position change with Volpe, or Volpe is going to get moved. But if Volpe's in the package, Volpe's not enough to draw.
They need way
They
more
would have to move Sweeney, Volpe, and then probably 4 or 5 more prospects, maybe even Dominguez. And now Dominguez's spot's going to be available because Aaron Judge is not coming back.
You don't
I'm
think
going to
so?
say that now. Aaron Judge will not be a Yankee.
Dave, I've been saying it for a while.
Yeah, he's not going to be a
Jimmy
Yankee.
got mad at me. I think we have a $20 bet, actually. We might have a bet.
They're going to try to give him as much money as they can.
And then somebody else is not going to match it.
Well, here's where you're at. No, the Mets can.
Yeah, but the Mets just paid Diaz $100 and something million.
Sure. They also don't have Jacob deGrom anymore because he's a free
But they
agent
still got
this year.
Lindor's contract. They still
Right.
got. I mean,
Lindor could be moved though.
But you can't just start moving
have
guys to get Ohtani, and you're going to end up where the Angels are at.
They have. What I'm saying
Right.
is that there are teams that are going to be able to make these moves. Now, I think the Red Sox, that's a real thing.
But if you're
that's a real thing. They would
I'm,
send Miguel Bleis,
but if I'm,
right,
if
which
I'm
is
looking,
a very good young pitcher. They would send him in a heartbeat for Ohtani, packaged with these guys. That package of players, the Angels could promote all of them at the same time.
But if you just watch the World Series get won by the Astros and how they won it, wouldn't you want to copy that instead of bringing in one guy and getting rid of 5 prospects?
You have to have had drafted like that. And
right, but why don't you just say, okay, we're still competitive. The Yankees are still competitive. They still have, let's just use them, the Yankees as an exit. They still have good farm system. They've always kind of have. Why don't they just continue for the next year or so
they
to build
should.
a team that
If I were the
them?
Yankees, I would let Judge go. I would bring Dominguez up.
You can pay Judge. That's fine.
Right?
Pay whatever he wants.
Even if you
That's
want to
fine.
pay him to keep them in there.
You give him
doesn't matter.
$450
Either
million.
or,
It doesn't matter.
But Dave, they booed
Either
him
way,
in
it
the
doesn't.
playoffs. They booed him
did.
because he wasn't hitting in the playoffs. This is a guy that just hit 62 home runs for your team.
Yeah.
And helped you win
Yeah,
all
they're
those
assholes.
games. And okay, well then why do you want to
Philadelphia's
stay
a bunch
there?
of assholes.
Why would
I
you
don't
want to
know.
stay there? They booed him in the playoffs.
It's a fan base. They're all assholes. We're sitting here talking shit about players. We're all fans. We're all, it's just the way it is. Everybody
don't boo
boos
players.
everybody, and they go up like you don't
I don't
boo
boo players.
anybody.
Aaron-
You're out of your mind.
Aaron Judge not a Yankee next
You
year.
don't
$20
boo
September next
anybody.
year.
So
When have you heard me boo?
Here's the thing: is that
Maybe not a
the
boo,
teams-
but
the teams that could pay them
Yeah.
now. There's a dark horse of a team that could pay because even though they did bigger contracts, they did team friendly contracts, right? That's the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are a team that could spend that money at this point if they absolutely wanted to. I'm not saying Aaron Judge wants to go to Toronto, But if you look
Pay
and
more
you're
taxes.
playing with Bo Bichette and Guerrero, you might,
Springer and
right?
Yeah.
I think that it's more likely that he ends up with one of those big guys. There's a chance that you see the Dodgers go all in for him, and the reason you do is because they've got some guys coming off the books. They got Kershaw off the books, right? You've got Trey Turner, so you're going to have to make a move. Shortstop
Trey
position
Turner.
for them is in a little odd spot. But
Gavin Lux isn't a shortstop, so you got to keep Trey
the
Turner.
Dodgers have guys that they can move to get a young shortstop if they need. In fact, I would argue and say that the best trade partner for the Yankees with Volpe would probably be the Dodgers, because the Dodgers could send back what the Yankees don't have in their system, because they do.
I don't think they want
Yankees
to work
have
together.
like they have depth at catcher, right? The Dodgers have depth at catcher. Cartea was ready to come up last year.
Do the Dodgers and Yankees really make trades together? I really
No,
don't
they
ever
really
see
haven't.
it.
But
Right.
what I'm saying
No,
is
they
that
don't-
though
they
that's
don't
a
like each other
teams.
that
Yeah, that's
That's
always
teams that
wondered
actually
that.
could like benefit each other out.
It's like the team they don't want to help each other. It's
Right.
Like, it's always that.
So
since
So
the
I
70s,
can
they
same
don't
thing with the
like each other.
Astros now. Like I don't see anybody.
I'm going to
help
tell
them.
you this: the first thing to fall will not be Aaron Judge signing. Will not be Aaron Judge re-signing, and will not be him signing. That will not be the first thing. I actually think the first card to go is going to be who signs Xander Bogaerts, because he's the guy that not everyone's eyes are on, that improves almost any situation he goes into except for the Dodgers. And if I'm the Yankees, I probably try to make that move, even though I like Oswaldo Cabrera, because I could actually move Bogarts to third if I wanted to. I could actually put Bogarts at third. So to me, that's a win-win scenario. Then you talk about when that happens, once that's done, now that that's done, Trevor Story now moves over to shortstop
For who the
for the Red Sox.
The Red Sox.
Oh,
So the
God.
Red Sox now deal with one of their young guys playing the
hope
corner,
they do.
which is probably going to be Jeter Downs.
Yeah.
He probably goes and plays third. He's probably a better third baseman than he is as a shortstop. Like there's all these things that are going to fall. So the Xander Bogaerts thing I think is real. Correa coming out is another guy that's kind of putting a wrinkle in the system. Correa is going to be one of those guys that he's going to end up on a team that I think it'll be kind of surprising where he ends up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he might actually make a position change to third. So that could also be a target for the Yankees. You could keep Oswaldo Cabrera and have him play short. You could sign Cabrera to play third. There's some Correa to play third. So there's some things that can happen, but I really think that that's going to be the first thing.
The White Sox have a ton of talent.
Because
They could
the
move
White
guys.
Sox have a ton of talent. They're deep in pitching, so they do
They're a
have the
ton of
assets in
talent.
pitching, as do the
Tim
Padres.
Anderson. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm any top 5 team that don't have a
Yeah.
shortstop, I'm looking at Tim.
I don't
Anderson.
think
Like,
Tim
I love
Anderson
him.
as White Sox is going anywhere. White Sox love him, and
I do.
he's
I
not
think
going
he's the most
anywhere.
solid. You're going to
Yeah.
get shortstop defense, everything.
They're not going to move him. You're going to have to see what happens with Trey Turner. Where does Trey Turner go? Where is his best fit?
Well, how much is he going to ask for?
He's going to ask for a lot, because if you go
It's like
if you go
100,
look at it,
200 million?
he's like 28th over replacement. He's like that high up because he steals bases.
But how old is he? Do you know off the top of
30.
your head? He's just
30.
Jesus, 30 already.
So he's perfect. He's like perfect age to sign that next big contract, to lock him down for multiple years. And in fact, if I'm the Rangers, I'm really, really ticked I signed Corey Seager last year. I'm really ticked I made that move, because knowing, not forecasting that Trey Turner would have been available, because that would have been the perfect. They could have made some other moves.
I think the
and
Dodgers
then-
sign him.
and
Rangers
Adam-
do dumb stuff.
Well,
They
the
always do, 'cause
Dodgers
they got
might
pissed off
re-sign
for those
him.
World Series losses.
The Dodgers might re-sign him, but they're going to pay the absolute penalty
Because
for
he's
it.
been there. That's
There's
why.
going to be two sides to it, right? The penalty is going to be they're going to re-sign him for a lot of money, and now you have Mookie there, right? And Mookie is going to kind of be like, wait, you're paying Trey Turner this? That becomes a locker room issue, right? I think they really have to look at that. And we know the Yankees are
Like
going to be a
$9
player.
billion in TV
right?
money. The Dodgers.
Yankees are going to be a player as well.
Like, they're just
Yankees
and
are-
then, the thing
Freddie
is that
Freeman. Hey, what do you want? Who wants
the,
money?
short-
huh?
the shortstop position right now in Major League Baseball is crazy, because you have teams like the Rays, the Marlins, who are stacked in depth at shortstop. Like the Rays might have 4 probably functional starting shortstops coming up in their organization, and they'll never crack it because Wander Franco's there.
Right.
Like, Carson Williams is their number 3 guy coming up the line, And he's very good, right? C.J. Abrams is going to be starting now for the Nationals, right? You've got Marco Luciano on his way for the Giants. You have teams that are now loaded with shortstops, which has not been like that in Major League Baseball. Now that means that they change positions. It happens sometimes, whatever.
Right.
A guy like Blaze Jordan, these shortstop convert positions. They just do. But it'll be really interesting to see. But I'm going to tell you that the Xander Bogaerts thing is probably the most under the radar move. But that move will really start to turn a franchise. And where they go, Xander Bogaerts is going to be the one. Because Trey Turner's going to cost you so much money, it's going to be hard to sign other stuff. Xander Bogaerts isn't going to get Correa money, because Correa got money last year because of World Series appearances. Right? Bogaerts isn't getting that for it. Bogaerts is as good, maybe even better than Correa. So, really good piece. Some team's going to take advantage of it. I would love for it to be like a mid-tier team. I'd love for it to be a team like Milwaukee. Maybe a team, they got some up and coming, but maybe like the Cardinals.
Cardinals as well.
Right? The Cardinals would be interesting. The team that we're forgetting about, and I'm just going to mention this really quick, is that they have all kinds of money to spend. They have an international fan base, and they're loaded in their farm system. And that's the Cubs. Cubs have a ton of money to play with. Everything is available, and they will take players in every position. So don't count them out in some of these sweepstake plays.
The A's have a lot of money.
And if
we just don't spend it.
if the Cubs make a move, and they sign like a Trey Turner, right? Mm-hmm. Then they've got young assets coming up that they'll be able to turn around to another team for a big piece back. Christian Hernandez is all that. Ed Howard is really good coming up as a third baseman shortstop, right? You got Pete Crow Armstrong ready to knock it down. Madrigal's already locked in. You got Suzuki there. All of a sudden, they've got some really good play. And yes, they're going to let Contreras go because right now that team is young in pitching. And what do they need? A guy that can handle the pitching staff. And Contreras isn't necessarily the best defensive catcher. Right? So
it's a DH pretty much.
When you come with these things, like you're just going to really have to like step back and take a look at it. This offseason, I honestly think might be one of the craziest MLB offseasons in a while. Jacob deGrom's probably going to be wearing a new jersey. Verlander may retire.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much out. I mean, he won another one.
Got his first win.
He pitched. He pitched as an ace this year at 40 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And he was that good. He could come back, but he might retire. Mm-hmm. Right?
Just depends how much he's going to cost.
Other guys moving around.
Right.
And all this. And then we even look at teams like the Phillies were that good, and their young players haven't even really blossomed yet.
No.
Wait till Vierling really shows you how he can hit. Right? It's kind of like the Alec Boehm thing where Boehm didn't really hit his rookie year, and then all of a sudden everybody this year is like, whoa, Boehm's that great. No, he was that good before. He needed a year to adjust.
Yeah, he's not struggling.
Some guys need that adjustment.
Yeah.
I like to remind everybody that after his first World Series Derek Jeter was sent to the minor leagues.
Yes.
People forget that he was demoted to the minor leagues after he won the World Series in '96.
The very next year.
And he was told, you're going down and you're going to learn to play center field because you're not a very good defensive shortstop. And we need a better defensive shortstop. Now, he's hard-headed, and we know what career he became and what he
was in the wrong position at the right time.
Yeah.
He decided to do what he did, but he was sent down. Mm-hmm. So these best players, these young players, the O'Neal Cruzes that struggled, at first and even had a little bit of struggle, he only has still only a handful of games. Some of these guys are going to be there, but it's going to be really interesting to see. But the depth in Major League Baseball at shortstop right now is the best it's ever been. I can't think of another time
a lot of athletes
there was this many shortstops, and it's because as a kid now, that shortstop is the best player on the team.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
just that's how it is now. And so if you're
finally
building a young team,
for them?
well, no, because what happened is that all these players that are coming along now, all these coaching staffs, and then all of these front offices, it's dawning on them that when they're kids, the best player on the team is a shortstop. Mm-hmm. They're focused on making the best player on their team a shortstop, and the second best shortstop goes and plays center field. The third goes behind the dish. The fourth goes to third base. That's how you build your team, right? So there's going to be some interesting moves, some interesting takes, because you got guys we didn't even mention. I mean, we could talk about Mason Wynn coming up with the Cardinals, right? He's another one, not going to hit for a lot of power, but he's definitely going to steal bases, be incredibly defensive, right? You Mets have a guy coming up. I mean, there's guys all across the board that are really, really good at shortstop. So, interesting time to be in. I wanted to bring that up, and I know we're getting a little long today, so we'll get real quick into plus or minus and talk about fantasy. And it's funny because, Jay, you brought this guy up earlier, and I was going to say something, and I decided to pump the brakes. It's very simple. It's very simple. Sometimes we come on here and we talk about when we've been right, when we've been wrong. I don't know that I've necessarily been wrong about this guy, but I will tell you this is the right time. Justin Fields just did everything you needed for the 2021 product class.
Yep.
Okay? Because it was struggling. Trey Lance hurt. Mac Jones doesn't look that good. T-Law, everybody believes in, but T-Law is 50-50 at this point, this year. Davis Mills isn't going to win until next year when, he has one more draft and gets some offensive line help and whatever it is. But Justin Fields is doing it with a bad roster. He won a game with a bad roster. He looks really good. And what I've noticed myself, I didn't think he could do it, which was he's gotten better as the season's progressed. He's made better decisions. His footwork is better. Mm-hmm. And when he's running, he's now running to daylight, which is a Mahomes thing, right? Run to daylight, not run to the spot where, I'm going to get and take a big hit or whatever it is. My advice to you is, though, the 21 class, you're upside down in a bunch of your cards. Trey Lance is going to be a wait till next year. T-Law is a full year hold. Mills is a full year hold. I think right now is a good opportunity to sell your Justin Fields.
Well, they're letting Justin Fields play his game, to whereas Nagy was trying to make him something different than he was, and it's obviously not going to work. And so the new regime is letting him kind of play the way he needs to play. And that's what you thought you were going to get out of Justin Fields when you drafted him. You thought you were going to get a little bit of running, a little bit of throwing. He's not going to stand there in the pocket and throw for 350 yards a game, but he's going to get you a few passing touchdowns, and he's going to do it with his legs too. So that's what you thought you were going to get out of Justin Fields, but Nagy just refused to.
Well, what's
do that.
great about it is that that's exciting.
Yes.
And exciting sells.
That 68-yard touchdown that run, that was huge. It got everybody pumped.
But you
up.
saw him. I mean, he's athletic, so you saw him do that in college all the time. It was ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how sustainable it is, but it's exciting. That's what people want.
Key,
people don't really care about. You can look at, not looking at a quarterback's wins or losses right now.
Yeah.
You're looking at how excited. What's the upside of buying Justin Fields cards or buying Jalen Hurts cards? That's all it is. I mean, wasn't that week 1 or 2 where he was in a horrible weather game to start?
Yeah,
and he still won.
Yeah, and still won.
Yes. Right, it'd be like the 49 or something.
They did the slide in the end zone.
Pouring rain.
Yeah, it's pouring rain. So you're like, oh, he's terrible. It's awful weather. Everybody sucked.
No, that was against the Niners.
Was the Niners week 1.
It was Fields versus
week
Lance.
1.
So my thing here is that this is a good time for you to sell your Justin Fields, because I don't know if it's necessarily sustainable.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a little spike in his market. And I believe after the season is gone, because they're not making the playoffs, and if they do make the playoffs, which I doubt they will, but if they outside chance run into the last wild card spot or something weird, right? They're one and done. And he's not going to be thought about until he takes his first preseason snap next year, which means if you sell now, you're going to be able to buy with the end of the season to the beginning of next season in a little bit of a valley from where it's at now.
Right.
So you might as well sell something, unless it's something that you absolutely can't replace, a 1 of 1, a number to 10, something like that. Your Justin Fields, it's time to sell.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to do it, and you're going to be able to make some money back on him. And hopefully you did the smart thing, which means if you bought into him big early, you bought into him at the bottom, so you hedged in mid. This is your chance to get out ahead in that mid. I hope you guys did that, and if you did, again, we're here to give you advice on how you can sell or buy your cards to take advantage of the marketplace. And this is an advantage time. You've got 2 or 3 weeks to sell your Justin Fields, to be able to get good premium out of him, because people are going to be excited about him. And I'll even say in the breaker space, I'll bet you we can go on in the next 2 days. We'll go on to Whatnot or something and just scour a bunch of different breaks that are running football. And I'll bet you a bunch of people start running 21 breaks again because people are hunting for the Bears and Justin Fields. So good time to sell because he's the guy right now that everybody's excited about. Plus you've got that outliner of Ellinger in there that people are like, I can get Ellinger cheap. But no. Justin Fields, good opportunity for you to sell right now. Don't go and buy Justin Fields right now. You might as well wait till after the season.
Just like buying Jeremy Pena. That's not the time to buy him.
Not the time to buy Pena. Not the time to buy.
I mean, unless he keeps going up because nobody's gonna pay that much.
Both of these naturally
in the off season. You want to buy Pena in the off season.
Oh, you buy everything in the off season.
Right after the World Series.
You want to start buying Pena, and the NFL playoffs start. That's when you start looking to buy Jeremy Pena.
Of course,
yeah.
You buy him, Julio, O'Neal Cruz, Wander Franco. You buy all those guys as soon as the first game in the NFL tips off for the playoffs.
Oh, you can
That's when you go buy.
You buy everything in the offseason.
Yeah. Yep.
You start buying stuff during you're just dumb. You're just wasting money.
But this is an opportunity for you to catch somebody who didn't buy Justin Fields and wants to have Justin Fields now and is all excited about him, for you to move him at a premium for this marketplace. It's still going to be down from what some people paid, but it is at least going to be an opportunity. So that's my advice for plus or minus for you guys this week. Take that advice, do the best with it that you guys can. Hopefully you guys can take advantage of a marketplace. And just keep in mind, and one last thing I want to mention for plus or minus is, I told you guys, I sat on this program, in June, and said October the market will start to bottom. And then it did. I mean, literally, the calendar changed June 1st, and you started seeing prices fall. You have until February before you have it even stabilize itself back out. And I actually believe that when it stabilizes itself back out, you probably have another 16 to 18 months of it as a flat or a slight buildup to get back to, pre-COVID numbers, right?
Yeah.
Just this is not going to come back quick and easy.
It's not going to be like COVID.
This is not a presidential year, so you're not going to have money flying like that where people wait until they see who wins the presidency and then put money in the marketplace. This isn't that. You're actually going to have that naturally in a couple of years. So you've got about 18 months or so from February to see it. But you're still going to see that bottom all the way through into February. So as you see prices decline, opportunities like Justin Fields right now are those big opportunities to sell and move some stuff. Like those, when you find those chances, that's when you do it.
Jump on.
You can't wait on it because you're going to be able to rebuy that down the road. Yep. I'll bet you if you sell, a Justin Fields number to 99 RPA today, you will be able to buy it for probably 15% less in the off season to replace it. I feel like that's a win.
Should be.
So that's what I would look at, guys. Otherwise, that is all for the Game Day Huddle this week. Guys, we appreciate you being here, the Warden.
Yes.
Coming in, filling in. We like having you around, man.
Anytime.
Yeah, we might just have to make you a regular on the program.
That's what I said. That's what I said last week.
Yeah.
Why?
Bring you in.
Because I like to have you in when Jimmy's here also in studio.
Yeah.
Why? So we do the whole...
Yeah, because I think that I could mix it up a little bit to where you guys might start going at each other.
Let's see, we do that every day.
Sit back and watch.
It's like,
see, Jay's a lot like I am, right? We love the train wreck in sports.
It's a mess.
Like the Bailey Zappi, I've been calling it. I called it all off season. The Bailey Zappi and the Mac Jones thing. I wanted that so bad. I got it. I was so excited.
You act like you make bets with Jimmy. I've got a bet with him about Turpin to get a touchdown this year for Dallas.
Yeah,
I think
He goes, he'll never have another touchdown his entire career. I'm like, I'll take his entire career right now.
Jimmy will say outlandish stuff, and then I will back it up with it. If I say something outlandish, he calls me out. But I try not to say anything too outlandish.
Except for the Saints thing.
The Saints thing was, I mean.
By the way, real quick,
defense.
Anthony says Tua
wins the
MVP, which isn't a stretch. He's actually having a very, very good year, as expected. And what's funny is, Anthony, is had you gone back to prior to the season, I sat here and told you the best chance to buy one of the dark horses for MVP in the NFL was to go put money on Tua.
Yep.
And now it's realistic.
Because everyone was talking about Herbert and Burrow.
They were. And I said, go buy Go by Tua to win the MVP, because if that team wins, he is going to get the credit. And now he's in that discussion. Not saying he will, but he's in that discussion. And if you have that ticket, sometimes it's good. He wins another couple runaway games, couple big games. You use those services that you can sell your futures ticket, and if someone buys it, you're gonna make money, cash out on it there.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. Guys don't realize that, but yeah. So Anthony says you can still buy him cheap, so maybe it's still an opportunity for you guys too.
You can buy a lot of stuff cheap right now. The market's down.
He was my dark guy for MVP. It was the same thing I said with Pete Alonso, and that was another one that was really, really happening, and really close. I don't know if Alonso wins the MVP this year in the National League.
No,
right?
He was mentioned a lot,
but he was definitely in the 2 or 3.
Yeah,
right. And I would say probably going to give it to Arenado. I'm guessing is probably who's going to end up winning it.
Winning what?
The
MVP
National League MVP. Harper's not going to win it because he was
greatest
hurt,
fielding player ever.
That guy. But again, even that, I don't know that anybody clear cut knows who's going to win it.
No.
But Pete Alonso was in the discussion. Well, again, when we talked about, remember when we ran the odds?
Yeah.
At the beginning, before the season. We were buy Pete Alonso. Alonso was 17-1 or something like that. As a long shot. You literally could get.
So
him
who are the top 3? I haven't
nothing.
looked at any of the odds for.
If I'm not mistaken, so the only problem that the Cardinals have is that Goldschmidt and Arenado are going to kind of cannibalize each other. Goldschmidt went on a run. If Goldschmidt had hit the last month of the season, he would have easily ran away with it. Still in the discussion. Alonso was in the discussion because he was winning, and he was part of it. He was hitting home runs and all that stuff and everything at the end of the season when the Mets needed to, because the Mets they were losing games to the Braves and all that. So the games they were winning, Alonso was helping them win those games. But Arenado was the
when does all the Cy Young and stuff come out?
Should be really soon.
Yeah, it's usually in the next couple of weeks.
We should have picked our own.
We should all be seeing it and everything.
Tonight.
We could do that for the next huddle.
We could just do it and then come back and tell everybody what we did.
This is what we picked, and we just put in here.
But
I want Alcantara to win for the Marlins. Hoping something happens.
Rookie of the year.
Maybe we'll for next
for Cy Young.
For
This guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's. I'm going to tell you now. Spencer Strider wins that hands
down. He was the starter for the friggin' All-Star game, and he's like, "Oh, you're Kershaw. Go ahead."
Yeah,
we're in L.A.
Spencer Strider is easily going to win.
Just a Marlin move, man. Just roll over.
Spencer Strider is going to win the National League MVP and Rookie of the Year. Or not MVP. I'm sorry. That Cy Young and Rookie of the Year.
Cy Young and Rookie.
Yeah, he's a Rookie of the Year in the National League.
How many complete games did he have?
He set.
They have 10 or whatever.
He set strikeout records. Mm-hmm. He set scoreless inning records.
Looked super good in the playoffs.
Rookies did not look super good in the playoffs. But no, for the most part, he was dominant. He was dominant, and he's the next Jacob deGrom, he is.
We'll see.
He is that
guarantee
guy.
Alcantara has a better career.
No, I like Alcantara. I've said that. I've said that.
Close.
I've been on Alcantara before people were talking about it.
He said it was between DeGrom and Alcantara.
Let's talk about how smart I am about this. Cabrera is probably a number 1 on half the teams in the major leagues when he starts this next year, and he's going to be the number 2 for the Marlins.
Yeah.
Right? And Cabrera is that good. That Marlins team is stacked in the minor leagues. They are stacked. They don't have a lot of big power,
have pitching,
but they've got a lot coming up. Joe Mack at
every time
catcher
I see,
is going to be legit.
The only weird thing was watching Real Muto get traded for Sixto Sanchez. That makes me want to turn my car into oncoming traffic.
Too bad there's not a minor league World Series.
I know. Yeah.
Don't worry, because the A's and Marlins.
You
know that.
Guys, we're going to get off here. We appreciate you guys. I'm not sure who's running the show tonight, but someone will be on our Whatnot channel. We'll figure that out. We're going to figure that out here in just a little bit.
What's that?
Check it out.
Ripper's not running tonight, so we'll figure it out. I don't know if it's going to be Game Day Cole, if it's going to be myself. It'll be somebody. But we'll be up and running. We will see you guys then. Otherwise, make sure you bookmark the shows upcoming on Whatnot. New releases coming out this week. I know that there's a couple of things, so just pay attention to our social media. We'll get that out there to you guys. And if we can do anything for you, let us know. Otherwise, Jay, take us out.